Let's rewind a few years. As Prince, James was good-looking, an expert warrior, a shrewd businessman, and somewhat religiously tolerant. What could go wrong? Well, James was a Catholic, and this was a major sticking point for his English and Scottish subjects. For most people, in the 1680s, the Pope was like the boogeyman, who lived under the bed and scared children at night. This made James really unpopular, especially after 1678, the Popish plot convinced the English nation that a Catholic conspiracy to destroy the crown and church was afoot. James became the target of anti-popery hysteria, notably by a group known as the Whigs, who, supported by the mass public, set about to remove James from succession. By 1681, the exclusion crisis snowballed in popularity, and in one last attempt to save James, his brother, King Charles II, dissolved Parliament because it wasn't an essential part of government and stopped the bill from passing. Phew. I guess if they really didn't want me on the throne, they'd have to kill me, right? And that's exactly what the Whigs tried to do. Known as the Rye House Plot, in 1683 the Whigs devised a plan to assassinate Charles II and James by ambushing them on the way to the Cheltenham races, but bad weather kept them from going to the races, and eventually the plot was foiled. And so, with the Whigs fleeing into exile, popularity for the crown, Charles II, soared. Charles had beaten the Whigs, confirmed loyalty from all of his English subjects home and abroad, and nothing bad ever happened again. For 2 years, and then Charles died in 1685. On the 22nd of February 1685, James Stuart ascended to the English and Irish throne as James II, and the Scottish throne as James VII. English people were reluctant to fully accept James, as the crowds had done 25 years prior on his brother's coronation. Arrests against seditious talk of removing James was made in taverns and coffee houses in London and across England. Unlike his brother, James sought to modernise England. Yet his attempts of modernisation has led contemporaries and historians to label James's kingship as absolute and arbitrary. Military modernisation was core to so many of James's absolutist reforms, such as equipment, arms and uniform, as well as multiplying the standing army to 4 times its size. Much of this was inspired by his cousin, King Louis XIV of France. Meanwhile, his arbitrariness was distinguished by James's cruel acts of brutality, especially to the Monmouth rebels in Devon during 1686. This was right the way through to his more liberal side, such as repealing the Test Act and proclaiming a new Declaration of Independence, which gave more opportunities for the non-Anglicans. Together, many English contemporaries feared that James's construction of a new military, combined with looser restraints for non-Anglicans and military officers, furthered the Catholic cause and to return the nation to Rome. By June 1688, news that James and Mary of Modena had given birth to a new son, James Francis Edward, the start of a new Catholic dynasty, tipped many people over the edge. Fraught with distress, rumours began to circulate that the real child was miscarried, and a different child was smuggled inside the chamber in a bedpan. Moved by fear of Catholic conspiracy, 7 leading gentlemen wrote to James's nephew, William of Orange, Stadtholder of the Netherlands, and his son-in-law to invite him to England with an army to represent the nation's grievances against the king. And the letter went a little bit like this. Hey, we don't really like James or what he's doing to the country, and we're not entirely sure if the child was brought in a bedpan or not. And most people, especially in the north, will support you if you bring an army and call a parliament for us. William, who at the time was fighting Louis on and off for most of the 1680s, enthusiastically agreed. He knew an invasion from France was inevitable, and was unsure which side James would support, his cousin or his daughter and nephew. And so, on November 5th, 1688, William landed.